Usually wake up a little before 7 o'clock. The first thing that I typically do, even before I get out of bed, is grab my phone. And the thing that I'm typically doing on my phone is checking my Google Calendar. So I like to have a really good idea of what the day has in store before I get out of bed. I like to have an idea of the meetings that I've got as the head of talent. I meet with a lot of folks, my team, but then also like cross-functional leaders across the organization. So I need to kind of plan out when I'm actually getting my work done and then when I'm meeting with folks. With this new role, I've been going into the office a couple days a week. So my morning routine is definitely dependent on whether or not I'm going into the office that day. So on the days that I do go into the office, I'll usually grab a cup of coffee, drink that as I'm getting ready. I'll pack up my bag and I actually have the luxury of being able to walk to work. So I get a nice like 20-minute walk into the office. I try to get there on the earlier side because again, I've got teammates who work over in Germany and in Hungary. So I like to be able to overlap with them. On days that I don't go into the office, typically my morning it's a little slower, it's a little more relaxed. So I can get up, I can have my cup of coffee while I like review the emails that I've got going on. Um, I'll typically eat breakfast as I'm working my way through my inbox. I've got recurring meetings with a lot of the folks that I work with in Europe. And so those meetings tend to be earlier in the day because that's their afternoon. And so, to have a standing meeting with those folks to ensure that you will have that overlapping time with them is super, super helpful. Um, I will also say our Tulip operates a lot on Slack. Um, and so I'm typically, even outside of sort of standard business hours, I'm typically like popping onto Slack to see if someone needs something, if there's something kind of time sensitive going on. Um, but it really is like making sure that my morning is more or less protected so that protected from other meetings and things so that I've got that guaranteed time to overlap with my European colleagues. The afternoons, are just a mix of other meetings and other work. So I mentioned before, because I have a background in broader people operations, sometimes I will support on some, org-wide people operations initiatives or other people operations related things at Tulip. So for example, right now, we are in the midst of our performance and growth um, cycle. So I'm helping, a couple of different groups throughout the organization make their way through that process. Wrapping up the day is usually, firing off the last couple of emails. I'm responsible for our like candidate approval process. So when we're giving offers to candidates, so I always make sure that that piece is tied up before I leave for the day. And then I'm usually leaving around 5:30 if I'm at the office and doing that lovely walk home, or if I'm at home, kind of shutting down my computer around 5:30 to move into my evening um, with my husband. Usually the evening consists of some reading, hanging out. We like to make dinner together. And then again, because of the pace of the growth at Tulip, I'll typically pop back on to email or Slack just to make sure there's nothing time sensitive happening. And then kind of wind down from there. My husband and I typically go to bed on the earlier side. So I'm usually like eyes closed by 10:30. But prior to that, we have what we call a wind down routine. So that starts usually around like 9:15. And that's, brushing our teeth, washing faces, all of that good stuff. But then there's usually a good solid hour of reading that I do before I go to sleep. So I love reading. I like stories, which is why I like recruiting because I love people's stories. But it's also just like a good way to let my brain slow down and get ready for sleep. So that is, we'll say 95 times out of 100 how I'm spending the last hour of the day before I go to bed.